Sometimes we're sitting there with the remote in our hand and we have a realization. We come to see that I could sit here and binge another season of whatever I'm watching, but the cost of doing that isn't nothing. Sometimes we're sitting with the great big heart-shaped box of Valentine's Day chocolates, and we think, these are going down real easy. I could polish this off right now. But the cost of doing that isn't nothing. If I keep blowing my top at my spouse and my kids, and then the next day apologizing, I'm so sorry, I don't know what got into me yesterday, I'm so sorry. If we get into a cycle of doing that again and again and again, the cost of that is not nothing. And Lent is the time to count the cost, to step up to the plate, to ask ourselves, am I going to keep all the patterns in my life just exactly as they are? Or do I want to do something that's a little different? Lent is when we realize if we keep doing what we're doing, we'll get exactly what we have right now, which in some ways is fine, but in other ways is not something that we're supposed to be settling for. So one of the things that I think helps us to understand what Lent does for us is if we see it as like technologies. Like the church is giving us 3 technologies to apply to the struggles of our lives. And the technologies are fasting, which is self-restraint of any kind. It's not necessarily food, though it might be, but it's any kind of self-discipline or self-restraint. Prayer and acts of generosity, giving to those in need. Those are the 3 technologies that we can apply, and they have tremendous effects in our lives. They work much better than we would imagine when we just think of them as concepts and haven't yet put them to work for us in our life. I did not like it when I heard that Mother Teresa went to confession regularly. I don't know how that strikes you, but that struck me as hard to understand. Why does Mother Teresa need to go to confession regularly? What could that saint possibly do? She's like bathing lepers in Calcutta. What does she go and confess? That she took an extra sugar packet from Dunkin'? What does she do? But of course, the reason that she went regularly is because she knew that there was a power grab going on inside of her. And she needed to stay on top of it. The power grab going on inside of her is something that all of us deal with. And you might say, where are you going with this? Power grab? I think the indigenous nation of the Cherokee really helps us to understand that power grab. They have a story that they pass down generation to generation, and it involves a conversation between a grandmother and her grandson. And the grandmother tells the grandson, you know, kiddo, there's 2 wolves inside of you. And the little boy goes, 2 wolves? Yep, 2 wolves. And there's 2 wolves inside of me, too. There's 2 wolves, she said, inside of everyone. And one of those wolves is good, and the other one is not. One of those wolves wants kindness and honesty and love and generosity and self-control and joy and peace. The other one wants very different things. That wolf is all about lies and selfishness and self-indulgence and sorrow, and that wolf loves war. So the little boy said, Nana, which of the wolves is going to win? And she said, whichever one you feed. The wolf that wins is whichever one gets fed. And that's what we see in the gospel today. Jesus is saying, there comes a time when you need to take the food bowl away from the bad wolf. That bad wolf needs to stop getting 3 squares. That wolf needs to starve. That wolf needs to get real skinny and fade away. We'll never be able to master the bad wolf, but fasting is the technology we can apply to weakening it. So that's when we say, I'm not going to binge the next season of this series right now. That's not going to work. The cost of doing that is not nothing. It's when we save 1 or 2 pieces of the heart-shaped box of chocolates and we give the rest away. It's when we deal with the difficulty of biting our tongue, even though we really want to say this and say it right now, rather than lash out at the people we love and then apologize to them and have them look at us like, whatever, this is what you do. A lot of you were here on Ash Wednesday. We had great crowds, and everybody got the chance to look at a purple sheet, and enough people find that helpful that we've left them at our entrances if you'd like one or would like a second copy. It lists the 10 areas that all of us are grappling with this Lent. All of us are grappling with certain areas that we need to look at, and most of them involve some application of self-discipline or fasting. Maybe fasting from some of our anger responses, or that sense of superiority we have that we always call pride. Maybe it's stepping away from dishonesty or vanity. Maybe it's not letting ourselves go down the road of jealousy, not letting ourselves get greedy, not letting fear drive the bus when faith is supposed to be in that seat, not overindulging, not giving up any control of our drives, not procrastinating without noticing it. Those are the things that fasting is especially engineered to help us with. But Lent can't just be about fasting, because there's another wolf there that needs to eat. We're not just taking the food bowl away from the bad wolf. We've got to feed the good wolf. Our soul is hungry, and it's looking for food that it can eat. It can't eat just anything. Our soul has a very clear diet. I was having a bad day not too long ago, and I won't bore you with the details. You know what a bad day is like. You know what it's like when things are just not working out the way you want. And I was driving, and it was one of those gloomy days, and all of a sudden, unexpectedly, against the steel gray sky, was this beautiful rainbow. And I almost crashed my car. I drifted out of my lane on the Northway, and I got honked at. But I was like, listen, if you don't see what I see, you probably need to pull over, because look at this. Look at this. And I was proud and happy that I could still have that reaction to a rainbow. Because that's what we hear in the first reading we're always supposed to have. We're never supposed to get over that. We're never supposed to forget that that is not just a phenomenon in nature. That is a sign. That is, from the beginning of time, a designated way that God reaches out and says, I have not forgotten about you. I have not lost your file. I am on it. I am with you in all things. That's why we're supposed to have reactions to some of those things. That is what feeds our soul. But most of us know that there is one food our soul wants more than anything else. And it's what we've been reading about in the book Beautiful Eucharist, which is something our parish has been doing as a series and will continue during Lent. There's no food more nourishing for us than that. It is that food that allows us to feel serene and humble. It's what helps us to say the truth even when it's hard, to be authentic, to want to be harmonious and cooperative with others, to be generous, to live confidently, to be focused. The bad wolf does not want us looking at rainbows or coming to the Eucharist, because that hurts its chances in the fight. But that's what the power grab is all about. Our soul is telling us in Lent, I am hungry for a different diet than you maybe are engaging in eating all the time. Feed me what I most need, at least for the next 40 days. Because the cost of doing nothing different isn't nothing. And we know which wolf is going to win the battle inside of us. It's whichever one we feed.